This is my Echelon Connect review, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10 in each of the 10 separate categories of the Tail Happy score, and discuss my thoughts and opinions along the way. Then at the end of this video, I'll add up each of the individual category ratings and give the Echelon Connect a Tail Happy score to see how this bike compares on a scale of 0 to 100 to other popular indoor cycling bikes. Starting with the basics, the Echelon Connect costs about $500 depending on when and where you buy it from. I got mine on Amazon and it shipped to my front door for free. They renamed it to the Echelon EX15. Link in the description box below this video. This Echelon is a relatively silent machine with its belt-driven magnetic resistance, 15.4 pound flywheel, which leads me straight into the first category of the Tail Happy score and probably one of the more important components of a bike. And that is the Drivetrain Feel, which simply put is how does the drivetrain feel overall? Some bikes feel amazing to get on and put power down to the pedals and they beg you to push them harder and they feel great to ride, while others just kind of feel like you're riding with a flat tire and don't really inspire you to push harder and get that feel-good factor back from the drivetrain. We've had this Echelon Connect for longer than any of the other 5 indoor cycling bikes I currently have in my apartment right now, and this was the initial indoor cycling bike we bought as a cheaper Peloton alternative, which we have since purchased the Peloton Bike Plus, and I did compare this Echelon bike head-to-head against the $2,495 Peloton Bike Plus in another video. So check that video out next if you'd like to see how this budget bike stacks up against the king of indoor cycling. When we first got started with indoor cycling, it simply didn't make sense to drop thousands of dollars on an indoor cycling bike plus an additional $39 per month for the Peloton digital app. So $500 for the Echelon Connect plus only having to pay $13 per month for the Peloton digital app sounded a lot more appealing. However, the Drivetrain Feel category does not measure value. We'll get into that category in just a moment. I gave a thorough explanation of all the factors taken into account for the Drivetrain Feel in my Proform bike review, so watch that video next if you want to hear my full 2-minute rant on drivetrain components and factors. But simply put, the drivetrain on the Echelon Connect feels really nice. This bike does have magnetic resistance and it's belt driven. And even though the Echelon FAQ page has the flywheel mass listed at 7 kilograms, which comes out to 15.4 pounds, the inertia from the flywheel is pretty good and it's a nice feeling drivetrain. After spending quite a bit of time on this bike and also hopping on and off this bike and comparing it between 6 highly popular indoor cycling bikes side by side, overall I'd give this bike a 7 out of 10 on Drivetrain Feel. The next category on the Tail Happy score is max resistance, which is exactly what you'd think it would be. How high does that resistance knob crank up to? On the Echelon Connect, the answer is 32, but that number doesn't mean anything. How hard is the bike to pedal while on maximum resistance? So I'm 6'5" and I weigh 190 pounds, and I feel like the max resistance on this bike is challenging, but if you're bigger than me, or if you're a powerful rider, or you prefer steep hill climbs, and you prefer a low cadence and a high maximum resistance, this bike might not completely satisfy you. It's a great bike to get your foot in the door for indoor cycling, and it has a lot of great things going for it, but maximum resistance isn't its strongest point of interest, so overall I give the Echelon Connect a 7 out of 10 in the max resistance category. Next up is metrics. What metrics does the bike give you? And as you know, I consider the important metrics to be cadence, resistance, and power. Can you see these numbers displayed on the bike somehow? For the Echelon Connect, the answer is yes, since this bike is Bluetooth enabled, and all you need to do is hook up the Echelon app to the bike, and you don't need to pay for the Echelon subscription to get these numbers. Just put the app into freestyle mode and you can get cadence, resistance, and estimated output right to the screen on the app. Since there isn't a display on the bike, you do need to hook up your own device to get these numbers, which is a minor inconvenience. But overall, I'd have to say the Echelon Connect earns an 8 out of 10 for metrics. Next up on the Tail Happy score is features. You don't get a ton of fancy features such as automatic adjusting resistance or even clip-in pedals or even a screen to connect to the Echelon Connect. You do get a traditional resistance knob, which works whether or not the bike is plugged in, since it's mechanical instead of digital resistance. And the bike is equipped with Bluetooth, which ultimately makes the bike highly versatile, and as the name suggests, this Echelon can connect important devices, namely the Echelon app, which gives you your metrics. The bike has a tablet holder on the handlebars, and it doesn't come with a screen, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you want to use the bike for. Since there is no screen on the bike, you're not restricted to only using Echelon services. You can put your own tablet on the handlebars and ride along with the Peloton digital app or Apple Fitness Plus, or any instructor-led class you'd like, or you can simply load up a show on Netflix and watch that while you ride. Or you can just use the tablet to display your metrics. Additionally, you can connect your heart rate monitor to the Echelon app on your phone, or you can also throw your tablet up on the handlebars and connect your heart rate monitor to the Peloton digital app if you'd like, which really isn't an Echelon feature, but many people do like to do this. If you're planning on using the Peloton digital app, you will not be able to participate in the Peloton leaderboard. You would actually need to buy a Peloton bike to be able to join the Peloton leaderboard. However, there is a leaderboard on the Echelon app. Overall, in terms of features for the Echelon Connect, I give it a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the next category is adjustability, and this bike is just about as adjustable as most of the other bikes I have here. According to the website, there are holes spaced 15 millimeters apart, so you do need to click into a hole for the seat height and handlebar height, so you don't get micro adjustments down to the millimeter. However, in comparison to some bikes, the holes are spaced relatively close together to help you dial in your riding position more precisely than if the holes were placed further apart. The seat can move forwards and backwards with micro adjustments, as there are no holes to click into for the seats moving. And of course, you can tilt the seat up or down or completely change the seat to a different saddle if you'd like. One area the Echelon bike does lack in adjustability is the ability of the handlebars to move forwards and backwards, which is common for many bikes, including the Peloton bike and the Bike Plus. However, the less expensive Giroto X2 does have this ability, as well as the more expensive Schwinn IC4. The seat post has 17 levels of adjustment spaced 15 millimeters apart, and at my height of 6'5", I feel like this seat does need to be able to go just a bit higher in order for me to have a perfect fit on this bike and get the proper leg extension at the bottom of the pedal stroke. And while I'm riding out of the saddle, as long as I keep my hips back as I should for proper form, my knees won't hit the handlebars. But if I do lean forward, my knees can touch the handlebars even on max height. The handlebars do have a good amount of adjustment as well, with 9 levels that you can click into spaced 15 millimeters apart. I give the Echelon Connect a 7 out of 10 for adjustability. The next category is comfort, and this regards points of contact you have with the bike seat, the handlebar feel, the hand positions, the pedals, and this also accounts for the riding position of the bike and the ability of the bike to get into a comfortable position. Overall, this bike is comfortable. The riding position is nice, it's not too aggressive or too relaxed. The bike seat is average, but everyone has their own preference on saddles, so don't listen to me about this. And despite the pedals on the bike not being the best, they actually do have a large flat platform which feels good to put your foot on, as opposed to a small pedal with metal teeth sticking up as I've seen on other cheaper bikes. My main complaint on this bike in terms of comfort is probably the hand grip positions. I don't love the rounded handlebar grip that happens to be the main and only horizontal grip on this particular bike. But I should point out the handlebars seem to vary depending on when and where you get your Echelon Connect. So take a closer look at the listing if you're going to buy one and see what they look like at the time and place you're buying your bike. Other than that, these handlebars are thick and they feel nice to the touch. My other complaint about comfort is the lack of ability to adjust the handlebars forwards and backwards. For comfort, I give the Echelon Connect a 7 out of 10. The next category on the Tail Happy score is style. And I mean, the bike is going to be in your home after all, so you know, what it looks like is probably important. The Echelon Connect is a standard flat black color with a minimal amount of red highlights, giving it a subtle and somewhat menacing aesthetic that's perked up a bit by the color of the plastic cover near the crankshaft and the white lettering on the seat and stem posts. I like the look of the flat black color, but we did remove the cheesy red sticker from our original Peloton bike because we simply felt like it looked cleaner without it. Depending when and where you buy your Echelon, the blades on the flywheel may be either red or black, but regardless of where you buy it, the flywheel is encased by a giant plastic housing, which gives this bike a fairly significant and unique appearance compared to most other bikes that have an exposed flywheel. This design probably helps keep the bike more safe from fingers or clothing getting caught in the moving parts, and also may help prevent the flywheel from collecting dust and sweat drops. Personally, I don't love the look of the plastic encased flywheel. I feel like the exposed flywheel of the Peloton bike or the Sunny bike looks much better, and I think the Echelon would look much better with an exposed, beautiful chrome or black flywheel peeking out the front. However, this is really just a personal preference thing, and the benefits of a closed flywheel can't be denied. I give the Echelon Connect a 7 on style. Convenience is the next category on the Tail Happy score, which regards how easy is it to just get on the bike and go. This also accounts for how easy it is to join an instructor-led class such as the Peloton digital app classes or Echelon classes, or any classes. So convenience is one of the downfalls of this bike since it doesn't have a screen and you do need a screen to get your metrics, and potentially even a second screen if you want to get your metrics as well as run the Peloton digital app or some other app instead of Echelon. Turning the bike on, connecting a tablet and your phone and a heart rate monitor, and remembering to keep all of these things charged can definitely be a drag, and is actually a big reason Sabrina decided to get the Peloton bike. I give the Echelon a 6 on the convenience scale. The next category on the Tail Happy score is initial quality impressions. So some of these Echelon bikes seem to have an issue with a clicking noise coming from the crank area, which I should point out I actually have had 2 of these Echelon Connect bikes. The first one was from Walmart and the second one is from Amazon. The Walmart variation did have a clicking noise that came from the drivetrain under strong power inputs in either direction, and I was never able to figure out the problem, and it happened regardless of which pedals I had on the bike, which I did swap out quite a few times. Some people seem to have this issue, and many people don't have this issue at all. The second Echelon Connect I ordered online was from Amazon, and this one does not have any clicking noise coming from the drivetrain whatsoever. But this is just my short-term experience, and in terms of quality, I haven't had any big issues yet. But I do know many people have had this bike for a long term, and I know you guys have long-term reports on the quality of this bike, so please leave your thoughts and comments or issues or lack of issues in the comments below to help other people watching this video get a better idea of what to expect in terms of long-term quality of the Echelon Connect. My initial impressions of the quality of this bike is it feels solid overall and I don't have any complaints. The adjustment knobs aren't the nicest surface to touch, but they seem robust and well built. The pedals aren't my favorite, but they are perfectly fine. As long as you don't have any trouble with that clicking noise coming from the crank area right out of the box, I really don't see any areas where Echelon really dropped the ball for this build. Nothing feels cheap or flimsy, and I give this bike a 7 out of 10 for initial quality impressions. The final category is value, and this takes into account the price of the bike versus what you get, and also it takes into account the recurring membership fees you may have to pay. So this bike costs $500, and depending on where you get it from, you may or may not be able to get a free 6-month Echelon membership, which you don't need to use the bike. You can simply use the freestyle mode and run whatever indoor cycling bike you'd like. You can check the current pricing or special offers on the Echelon Connect in the link below this video in the description box. At $500, this bike is a tremendous bang for the buck, which is one of the reasons that made this bike so popular in the first place, and also one of the reasons that it was our first indoor cycling bike. You aren't required to buy any recurring memberships with the Echelon Connect, but you can, and many people choose to use the Peloton digital app with the Echelon Connect. In terms of value, I give the Echelon Connect an 8 out of 10. Adding up the scores in each of the categories gives the Echelon Connect a tail happy score of 71 out of 100. If you want to compare the Echelon Connect to other bikes I've given a tail happy score, I have more of those on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and feel free to share it on any social media platforms where you think people would find value in this information. And any questions or comments you have, please leave them down below the video in the comment section. And I have plenty more videos on the Echelon Connect if you're interested in learning more about this bike. And I've reviewed many other indoor cycling bikes, and I've also compared the Echelon Connect head-to-head against other popular bikes, such as the Peloton and many more. So if you want to see those, go check it out on my channel. Thanks for watching, browse my channel, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.